Hello and welcome to Bio 169 for the summer 2025 session. I'm Mr. Burnett or Professor Burnett, either is acceptable. I am the lecturer and the lab instructor for the course. My background in education and teaching is that I have bachelor's and master's degrees from Northern Arizona University in biology, and my specialty and my focus was physiology specifically. So when I was in school, I was particularly interested in how muscles worked, particularly in combination with the nervous system. So muscle physiology and nervous system physiology were the things that interested me when I was first learning about anatomy and physiology. I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised here, and I recently moved back here. I'm teaching remotely this summer session, but I will be available by email or by Zoom meeting by appointment, so feel free to reach out and schedule an appointment by email or through my Calendly link on Moodle, and I'd be happy to chat with you, answer questions, whatever you need. What do I do when I am not teaching? I am a very avid runner. I log anywhere between 40 and 60 miles a week. I run races. I really enjoy running races to kind of test and push myself. I run everything from 5K races to 50-mile ultra marathons. And so I'm always kind of looking forward to traveling to different places, different states, different cities, and doing races in those places. The general flow of the course is that there are three kind of major categories of things that contribute to the final grade in the course. The first is the lab quizzes. The second is the exams, which are based off of both the lecture and the lab material. And the third are the module assignments, which are embedded within each of the labs. I would recommend regularly referring to the course announcements in the announcements module in Moodle for up-to-date information, reminders about due dates for the quizzes and the exams, as well as other formal communications from me regarding the class. The summer session does move quite fast, being an 8-week session. Typically, this class is taught in a 16-week semester, but in the summertime it is condensed into 8 weeks, but we still cover the same amount of material, so it does go quite quickly. So what I would recommend is I will typically, because our weeks in the summer start, because the summer session started on a Wednesday, we'll go Wednesday to Tuesday, so that'll be kind of our week. And so expect a new announcement at least each week on Tuesdays from me, but typically I'll post announcements during the week as well. So I post announcements quite frequently so that way you're always up to date in the course. And of course, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out by email or by Zoom if you would like to schedule an appointment for that. Regarding the lab quizzes, with a few exceptions, there are typically about 2 lab quizzes per week. These will open on Tuesdays at 12 a.m. and they will be due Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. So you get about 72 hours or 3 full days to complete those quizzes. There is one exception to this, which is the Lab 8 quiz, which will be due Wednesday, July 23rd at 11:59 p.m. And the only reason for that due date being on a Wednesday is because Wednesday, July 23rd is the last day of the summer session. So after that point, no work will be able to be turned in at that point. So the class officially ends and I cannot accept any work beyond Wednesday, July 23rd at 11:59 p.m. So everything has to be completed before then. There will be weekly due dates for the quizzes. So please don't miss those. If you do miss one of those, you're going to get a 0 on that quiz, and that's going to significantly impact your grade. Looking at the exams for a moment, with few exceptions, the exams will open on Wednesdays at 12 a.m., and they will be due on Fridays at 11:59 p.m. So again, you get a 72-hour window for taking an exam. There are a couple of exceptions to that, which are the Module 5 exam, which is going to be due Saturday, July 5th. The reason for that is that Friday, July 4th is a holiday for the college, so the college will be closed, and so I'm not going to have any work due on that day. And then the final exam, which will be due Wednesday, July 23rd, Again, that's going to be the last day of the summer session, so no work can be completed after that point. So that's why the final exam will be due on that Wednesday. There's a schedule on Moodle in the course information section. It's a one-page schedule that has all of the due dates for every single quiz and every single exam outlined on it. So please refer to that, and I'll show you where that's located in another video. Generally, for the module assignments, that's the remaining significant contributor to the final grade of the course. The module assignments will be due weekly. They are found within each lab module, and those are going to be due Tuesdays at 11:59 p.m. because our next week of material will start on Wednesdays. Expanding upon the quizzes comprise 55% of the total course grade, so a little bit more than half of the total course grade will be coming from the quizzes. The quizzes are closed book, closed note, and they are timed. In order to ensure compliance with the closed book, closed note policy, the quizzes are proctored using an automated proctoring service called Respondus. The college has used this for several semesters now. So hopefully you've used it if you've taken other courses where you've had proctored assessments in there. Hopefully you're familiar with what Respondus is. Respondus is already set up within the quizzes, so there's no additional link that you have to click. All you simply have to do is click the link for that particular quiz in Moodle. There's a Lab Quizzes module in Moodle that houses all the quizzes, and those quizzes will become visible as they are opened. So you'll click on the link for the quiz in Moodle, you'll follow the on-screen instructions for setting up Respondus for the quiz, and no additional setup is required beyond that. So it's all kind of embedded and integrated within each of the quizzes. So no additional setup will be required. I would recommend not waiting until the last minute to take the quizzes, because sometimes Respondus does have issues, especially if your connection is a little slower. So make sure that you can get in and take the quiz before the due date in case you encounter issues with Respondus. That way we can troubleshoot the issues with Respondus before the quiz due date closes or before the quiz due date passes. What Respondus does is that it automatically flags suspicious activity during the quizzes, and then I will go in and review the flagged footage to ensure compliance with the closed book, closed note policy. So there is nothing that you're able to use during the quiz. It's all going to come from memory. So really the only thing you should have during the quiz is the device that you're taking the quiz on. So either a laptop or an iPad or something like that. For the quizzes, the lowest quiz score is automatically dropped from the Moodle gradebook. The quizzes will be composed of the topics, the terms, and the diagrams that are in both the lecture and the lab material, but the questions that are within the module assignments are designed to essentially be practice type questions for the quizzes. So you'll see very similar questions in the quizzes that you will see or that you have seen in the module assignments. There are also lab study guides, which are within each of the lab modules that give you a list of terms and diagrams and topics to study for each quiz. So think of that lab, right? That lab study guide as your go-to resource for seeing what's going to be on the quiz, and that'll help you kind of prepare from there. The time limit for the quizzes will fit the amount and the type of questions that I give you. Typically quizzes are anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. Some of them are a little bit longer because some of them are a little more diagram heavy. For example, the digestive system is a very diagram heavy topic, so the digestive anatomy quiz will be a little bit longer to kind of compensate for that, but the time limit is always going to fit the number of questions and the type of questions that I'm asking you on the quizzes. And speaking of the quiz questions will consist of fill in the blank diagrams. So I'll give you a blank diagram and you'll have to name the structures that are on it. The diagrams may also be in matching form, so you simply match the name of the structure with its corresponding letter or number on the diagram. There may be fill-in-the-blank definition questions where I give you a definition of something and you have to tell me the term for that definition or something like that. Or the questions on the quizzes will be multiple choice. So it'll be a pretty healthy mixture of all three of those types of questions. I don't really do true-false. I'm not the biggest fan of true-false questions. Typically, you won't see too many of those. Looking at the exams for a moment, we see that the exams comprise 35% of the total course grade. Exams are open book, open note, but they are timed. So being open book and open note, they are not proctored. The exams will consist of about 60 questions from the indicated modules. So for example, the Module 1, 2, and 3 exam will consist of questions from Modules 1, 2, and 3, which is the blood, heart, and blood vessels modules. That'll be our first exam in just a few weeks. The time limit, just like with the quizzes, will fit the amount and the type of questions on the exam. Exams are typically within the 50 to 55 minute range. Some of them are a little bit longer, some of them are up to 60 minutes. But typically I try to keep them in the 50 to 55 minute range. Exam questions typically consist of multiple choice, fill in the blank, or essay style questions. And when I say essay style, I mean I'm looking for a response that's anywhere between 2 to 4 sentences long. You're not going to have to write an entire paper out in that 1 or 2 page paper out in that time limit. So short response type questions. Typically, there will not be any diagram type questions on the exam. The questions will mostly be text-based. And finally, looking at the module assignments, these compose the final 10% of the total course grade. The module assignments are open book, open note, and they are not timed, and you will receive 2 attempts on each one. So that way, if you're not happy with your grade on the first attempt, you can go back and redo it and hopefully get a higher grade on that particular assignment. But the module assignments are going to be good practice questions for the material that's going to be covered on both the quizzes and the exams. Of course, if there's diagrams on there, you'll see the diagrams only on the quizzes. You're not going to see diagrams for the most part on the exams. The module assignments are not proctored. They will consist of questions from the corresponding lecture notes, the lecture videos, the short lecture videos that I have recorded and linked to in Moodle, as well as the information that is within each of the lab modules and the lab activity links. So not all labs have an activity, but some of the labs have a virtual activity that you'll be able to do to really kind of help you interact with the material a little bit more. So for example, the first lab on blood has a blood typing game that you can play to practice matching blood donors with their recipients and vice versa. The questions on module assignments consist of multiple choice, fill in the blank, essay style questions, again kind of similar to the exam where there may be 2 to 4 sentence response questions, in addition to fill in the blank diagrams. You may also see some matching diagrams in there as well, but basically the module assignments are going to give you a mixture of questions that are going to be similar to both the quiz questions that you're going to see and the lecture exam questions that you'll see as well when you get to those. The questions on the quizzes and the exams will not be identical to the ones in the module assignments. That is, they're not going to be word for word the same, but they will cover the same topics and the same material. So that's all I can think of for now to introduce us to the course. Please feel free to reach out to me by email or reach out to schedule a Zoom appointment with me to introduce yourself or to ask questions when you have them.